Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Today is Tuesday.
It's actually afternoon as well.
It is. Good afternoon, everybody. Not that you'd know that anyway.
No.
Today is Tuesday, and we are currently in the queue for the ferry to go to the Orkney Isles.
We are.
We're going on to the main island to start with, and we're hoping to go to the Isle of Hoy. But unfortunately, I was trying to ring the office this morning and nobody was answering the phone, so I'm going to try again in a minute.
It's only a little tiny boat, I believe, and I don't think that many people go across to Hoy.
No.
So we will have to wait and see when we get over there whether we can do that or not.
We will, but we're very much looking forward to going to the Orkneys. I've never been before.
Yep.
Lots of Neolithic burial sites and things like that there.
Yep, we're booked in to go to something this afternoon.
We are. We're going to Skara Brae this afternoon, which is a Neolithic village.
We were amazed how difficult it is actually to get across here. We only tried, as we've been doing for the rest of the holiday, one day in advance, and we didn't actually intend to go from this terminal.
No.
We intended to go from a ferry port further along.
Nearer to John O'Groats, basically.
Yep.
This one's in Thurso. This is called Scrabster, and it's in Thurso.
But this was the only one that we could actually get for today.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the morning crossing, so this is the 1:15 crossing.
Yeah. And we're coming back to the other one, aren't we? We're coming back to Gills Bay.
Yes.
Which is near John O'Groats, as I say.
So the plan is to spend 4 nights on the Orkneys. To do what? We've no idea at the moment.
Well, we're just going to walk, see what there is, aren't we, and find out things. I spent a lot of money, and I bought a proper little map of the Orkney Isles. Hold it that way up so you can see. Proper little map of the Orkneys, which hopefully has all the visitor attractions and various bits and pieces on it. I nearly bought a walks book as well, but I thought Roger might get a bit cross if I spent too much money.
Exactly.
So
you do need your glasses on for that as well.
I definitely do. It's absolutely tiny. But it would be nice to just actually not miss anything, if you know what I mean. So,
and at the moment, it's a lovely day.
It is a lovely day.
And hopefully it'll be a very smooth crossing.
Fingers crossed.
As Jill hasn't taken her travel sickness tablets, we will see.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like it should be too rough, but when we came around the corner, there was a little patch of very rough stuff, wasn't there? I was thinking, dear, that's not so good.
It's an hour and a half crossing.
Should be okay, I'm sure I'll be fine.
It's too late now.
It is too late now.
Call it off, let it go.
So we dashed straight here from the ferry. We literally drove off the ferry and drove straight here to Skara Brae. We booked these tickets yesterday because we'd read that they were incredibly popular, but actually it's quite quiet here at the moment, which is nice. And we've just been reading about the fact that Skara Brae was occupied basically 3,000 years before Christ. So about 5,000 years ago, before the Great Wall of China, before Stonehenge.
Yeah, 2,000 years before those. 2,000
years before those, as I said, 3,000 years before Christ. And it's very interesting how they made things. So it was before metals were discovered as well. So you just had stone, they had wood, they had hides, they had animal furs, that kind of thing. And we're just about to go into a replica house. We're going to find out what it's like in there. So this is the Neolithic village of Skara Brae. And there's about 8 or 10 houses here, which were all discovered when one day in 1850 the wind came along and ripped off the grass off the top of the sand dunes in this phenomenal storm that they had here on the Orkneys. And as it ripped off the top of the sand dunes, it also exposed some of these houses. They don't want to expose any more because they think that it could damage them, which is fair enough. But actually it's very interesting. We've just been into a replica house, but this is the original thing. These are 5,000 years old, which just blows my mind. Everything looks very small, but as we said, people were smaller in those days because they didn't have they didn't probably have that good a diet. Although it was interesting, we were reading about why they came here. And basically, if you look out to sea, I don't know if Roger can show the video, out to sea, kind of between the headlands that you can see, that would have all been land. All of this bit here would have been land. And there would have actually been a freshwater lock where this bay is. So they would have had fresh water on hand. They'd have been able to hunt. They would have been able to fish. There was seabirds and eggs. There was seaweed for putting on the fires. So they had everything that they needed here. And the question is, why did they leave?
And the land was very fertile.
The land was also very fertile for growing crops and things like that. But nobody really knows why they left. Some people say that even when they moved in here, there was still the erosion had started of the land. which is probably true. But then other people say there was a great storm and maybe they were decimated by plague or fever or something like that. The answer is nobody really knows.
But I guess if you lose your fresh water, which I don't know when that happened, obviously, but if
Yeah.
you lose your fresh water, you're kind of
You're
stymied,
scuppered, aren't
aren't
you,
you?
really? Yeah, you are a bit. We were saying that it was quite interesting that actually you didn't have to go outside really to get into anybody's house, because actually it was like a stone-lined passage which was roofed over to give protection from the elements that linked all of these houses. But then, as we said, we are in the very north of Scotland and they probably needed protection from the elements, didn't they, really?
Yeah, I would imagine in the winter it's going to be pretty damn cold up
I
here.
imagine it would be pretty damned awful up here, to be honest. Which is presumably why that storm exposed it all, I'm assuming. Good morning, everybody. We have woken up on our very first morning in Orkney and we found a fantastic place to camp last night. Sea on two sides of us, in the front and the back, which is lovely. Nice big car park. There were only 4 vans here and one twit decided to park right next to us, but there you go, you can't win them all, can you? We didn't go over to the Brough last night because the tide was coming in and we didn't want to get trapped on the island over there. And today we're going to go over to Hoy later on the ferry. We're going to have a little explore of this island first. It's a bit breezy, I think it's fair to say.
It is very breezy.
But actually it's fairly breezy and a bit nippy, but it's not too bad.
I was going to say, the sun's out.
Yeah,
Blue
and hopefully
sky,
this
what more
afternoon we're
could you
going to do a
want?
little walk up to the Old Man of Hoy. And it is lovely, despite the fact that it's a bit breezy, but apparently it always is on Orkney. So.
I was going to say, we're in Scotland, we're the second half of September.
And also we're about as far north as you can possibly go. So,
Exactly, there is that.
So we are now at the Earl's Palace, and this was built for Lord Robert Stewart, and he was the illegitimate son of James V, who was the King of Scotland, and it was built for him, and he lived a very grand life here. He was the Earl of Orkney and Shetland, and he basically wanted to be the absolute ruler of those places, and his son was also a terrible man, and between them they seem to have ruled with a bit of a rod of iron, really. And yeah, it was... Yeah, from what I've read about it, it seems like they were not very nice people, either of them. And they demanded money. Apparently, a common thing was to put eggshells in with the mortar for building things, but there were no eggs left on the island because they demanded them all at various points in time. So yes, this was his palace, and where Roger is now filming from, this would have been an sort of a middle bit where they could have ridden in, where they would have gone falconing and hunting and hawking, that kind of thing. And there would have been rooms all around the edge, and there would have been a great hall at the end where they would have had dancing and that sort of thing. And there would have been a gallery built in the 1500s, which would have been very sparsely furnished, and that was for walking around in. So it wouldn't have had much furnishings and only one fireplace, because actually you're meant to keep warm by walking around in it. Here we are at the stones of Stennis, and these are stones that have been part of an ancient ritual, very similar to Skara Brae, the village that we went to yesterday, and there would have been another similar village on the hill just over there as well. And this very much would have been the centre of a ritual, and there's a fireplace in the middle where they would have burnt things, and they've excavated animal remains and all kinds of things that would have been burnt as part of the feasting here. And that's kind of all we know about it, really. There would have been about 12 stones originally, but in the early 1800s, the farmer who owned the land started to pull all the stones down, much to the outcry of the local people, who then tried to burn his house down not once but twice, apparently. Nice. But yes, this did have 12 stones originally, and now it only has 4, sadly. Ring of Brodgar. This is another Neolithic site, over 5,000 years old, and it's kind of on a causeway almost between two locks, between two locks. It's very interesting. There's also another stone circle just that way, which we saw yesterday, I think it was. Was it yesterday?
It was
I can't
yesterday.
remember. The stones of Stennis. Originally there were 60 stones in this circle. There's now only 36, and rumour has it that in ancient times there were giants who were dancing at night, and they were having such a good time they didn't realise that the sun had come up, and giants apparently, if they see the sun, they get turned to stone. So this is what these are meant to be. These are meant to be giants all around this ring. Who knows if that's true or not, but I quite like the story.
Yeah, that's not a bad story, and not a bad location either, is it?
Stunning location, as I say. It's between two stretches of water, 2 locks. There's cows grazing there. It's absolutely lovely. It's very busy today. We've seen at least 9 coaches.
Yes.
We were going to come here about an hour ago, but there was 5 coaches in here, so we decided to stay. We decided to go to the next place, to Yesnaby Cliffs, and come back. There's now 4 coaches in there. We've missed the majority of people though, which is not too bad.
We assume there's a cruise ship that's come in.
We're assuming that Kirkwall is probably going to be absolutely heaving with cruise ship people. So we're hoping to go there tomorrow, and hopefully they've all moved on.
Indeed.
Hopefully there won't be another ship in tomorrow, but you never know.
But no, it's quite impressive, isn't it?
It is very impressive. And it's just this whole 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That's just incredible, isn't it, really?
It is. And as we keep saying, that's a couple of thousand years before Stonehenge.
Yeah. And before the pyramids.
Yeah,
Before the Great Wall of China. Before all those things that you think of as being absolutely ancient.
yeah. No, it's fascinating, isn't it? The whole Orkney thing that's just so old. You don't really, well, I hadn't appreciated just how old it all is.
No, I hadn't at all. And actually, you wonder what significance these islands had for the people in those times. Were these quite heavily populated islands compared with the rest of the UK? Or did they just escape a lot of the wars and things that were happening in the rest of the UK, so things didn't get destroyed quite so much?
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it?
It is, yeah.